I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
If from my vantage point right here, you can see a skeleton standing there almost watching this guy. It's very interesting from where I am.
There you go. You're fixing everything together. It's fantastic. Oh, and also, all the wooden frames I handmade the week before this show, because the price of frames went up, definitely.
Can you talk about why you chose to paste that underneath instead of writing it, or just sort of the idea behind?
My handwriting's horrible. I don't know if that helps. But no, I did want this very elegant look to it, and it would probably just be a security thing. I didn't want to write directly onto the matting, and because I can't spell either, so it wouldn't have worked any other way, I don't think, as far as my patience goes. But yeah, I was looking for more, I guess, the Windows cool font.
What I thought about it was that it almost looks like a book page, and you were talking about the inspiration of books, you know, like on some of the work, you know, that maybe, I just throw that out there.
Yeah.
Good question. Russ, why, you got such a wide variety. People walk in and they always say, one person did all this? So, you know, what inspires you to go from such representational work to such abstract work to conceptual work to, I mean, what's your driving force?
My natural tendency is actually abstract work. I really, really enjoy abstract work. I do somewhat enjoy colors, even though I have no understanding of color theory, no matter how many times I write it down. And I can't mix colors, but I enjoy abstract. But there's a certain feeling that typical people get when they look at an abstract work. And by typical, I mean the common out-of-the-art circle. And this is a huge thing I actually have about art in general. I find a lot of art, specifically contemporary art, tries to force itself on a hierarchical scale with regards to the common man society. And they try to make this abstract work, and they put it up on this pedestal. And then when you come in as just somebody who works some coffee shop or just no real kind of interaction with art, and you just walk in and you're like, $5 million for paint on canvas, I could do that. And then they come to you and they have this kind of, you don't understand it feel. And that's what, even if they don't portray it, that's what the common folk take. They look at it as like, oh, you just think I'm not smart enough. So when I do abstract work, it's solely out of enjoyment. And when I'm going to be presenting work, I like to show that I do have some sort of artistic, traditional talent that people do kind of understand. They kind of like, oh yeah, that's something I cannot do at this moment. So that's always been kind of what I like to do. I've always enjoyed drawing something and splashing paint on it. It's like, yes, I like this, but I can if I need to do this. So, yeah.
I was just wondering, to me, what do you call those? Underpainting? That one, it seems like the label works, you know, formally it works the most of all the others. And I'm just wondering if you had any different feeling about the placement or where the label is on that one compared to the other. You know, this is just, you know, almost stands apart, and that really is integrated into the design. I wonder if you had any feelings about that.
It was by complete chance, because I felt the only way that I could actually really go for what my concept was behind it was to pretend that it wasn't there. So to just kind of block it out, just not focus on that, and just look at the canvas as if it didn't have the plastic on top. Because I didn't want to try to hide it at all. I wanted it to, if it stood out, I wanted it to stand out. And it would, luckily, through the law of numbers, I eventually ran into a spot that it did, like you say, work itself into it. I didn't even notice the color comparisons and how they were so similar. So I didn't even notice that until you just said that. So congratulations on that. It looks cool. But yeah, that was my goal, was to ignore the cornerstones. So.
So you probably explained this earlier, I was a little late.
Oh,
yeah. The marks you're making, I know you mentioned down there that you were trying to actually create a form of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
The others, is it just an intuitive mark, or going for something and it's just not working out, or?
It's just it was really a lot of fun because the paint is so globbed in there, and when you could get a hold of some of it when you're manipulating it under the canvas, it was working as kind of like a very elegant slide, and it really gave a really funful enjoyment because I could just glide right across the paper instead of having to fight with the roughness of the canvas or having to constantly redip my brush or anything like that, and it just real nice and smooth. So I really got a lot of enjoyment out of that, and just whatever felt right. So.
When are these paintings, the underpaintings, when are they done for you?
That's another great thing, is as soon as I put down the utensil. I don't have to wait for drying. And this one, I did it, I flipped it over, I screw-eyed and hung it and set it on the wall. And that actually added to the industrial idea of it, just how, I could do that just as fast, taking it home and setting it up. And this one hung on the wall blank, just with the wrapper on it and everything, for about a month before I realized what I was going to do with it. And so that was another interesting idea of it, is how fast it would be finished. Most of the time went into preparing the paint and how I wanted it inside of the plastic bag.
I'm thinking more stopping point. Like whenever you're engaged in making the slits and forcing the paint through, when for you do you go, okay, that's enough?
I would kind of take turns on when the paint forced itself to stop. So mostly right here, you see where it just is slowly, and then I just run out of paint. And then sometimes, but I didn't want everything to be that exact shape, so I would a lot of times just like end it. And I got kind of a little bit of a random. I didn't want to do too many of one thing. I didn't, just however it kind of wanted to go. Intuitively, yes.
So you're making these in one take. You're doing it in one session.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, it is intuitive, so are you in any sort of emotional state, or different emotions, feelings? Is that what's coming out here? Is it kind of neutral?
Pretty much. It would just kind of be really how it felt going on. So
it's purely about the experience of
exactly. And that brought a lot of fun to actually making the work. So these harsh curves were forcing me to go around the canvas and to actually get my whole body into the work. So it was almost like a little workout. But it was a lot of fun to work with. So, however, and the best part was I didn't know how it was going to look. I didn't know how the paints were going to react. I didn't know how they were going to separate or stay maybe lined up. Or I never expected this for the red, white to red to white. All I did was put red and white. So.
You said you manipulate the paint after you've inserted it. You manipulate it, you said, with a ruler or protractor. It sounds like just whatever's at hand.
Yeah.
And you manipulate it from the back? Or do you go to turn it over to the front and work from the front at any point?
Just like this. So here's where I inserted the paint here. Mm-hmm. And since I've taped down the plastic Ziploc bag, I can just pull out the plastic Ziploc bag and keep the tape on there, so it keeps the whole resealer. And then I can leave it on there until it dries. And I just, as soon as I pull the bag out and seal it down, I begin to work around it. Okay. So right on front.